There are different styles of sales. There are some of you guys who kind of lean on your own story a lot when you sell. I think a little bit of that is lazy selling. And so it's like they could do really well with 25-year-old girls, but if you had a 50-year-old guy come in, they were fucked.
Alex Hormozi built a $100 million business empire from nothing. But before he was a CEO, he spent his time mastering one skill: sales. And after closing 15 million in online sales myself, I was interested to see his approach. Well, in this video, we're going to look at how he handles objections to find out, is he as good as people say?
Sales ethics, I think I covered this earlier. I want to get to So helping someone make a decision, help themselves, does not mean buying from you. It just means keeping them and their goals at the center of the decision, okay? I keep repeating this because it's so important. And you should be happy if someone makes a decision for themselves, independent of whether they choose to work with you or not. If you can get to that point, you'll be untouchable.
Yep, I coach my clients all the time. Like, don't fight for the sale, fight for the person. Because when you approach sales from this mindset, people can see that you're on their side of the table. They don't feel pressured, but instead they feel empowered to work with you.
Because they have no leverage over you. Like, that's how you sell from your back foot. Is that if you are genuinely happy that if they make a decision, an empowered decision that's informed not to work with you, you're like, what a great day. I helped this person out. If you can get there, you become untouchable because you don't need anything. And so most importantly, how to make high stakes decisions and help your prospects.
Alex is 100% right. That's how you're able to eliminate neediness from any sales conversation, and you're showing them that, hey, I couldn't care less if you buy on this call or not. I'm just here to put you in the best possible position to make a decision that makes sense for you. Now let's move on to the next one.
Quick test. Are you physically in the room today? Raise your hand. Awesome. All right, because this is going to be a little bit more interactive on this side, all right? So raise your hand if you've ever thought or had a prospect say, time, I'm busy, now's not a good time, maybe in the future. All right, so if someone says, hey, now's not a good time, I'm too busy, this is why I didn't want you to memorize, because there's no script here, all right? Is that you have to believe that there's a false statement implied there. I was going to say, does anyone know who it is? But there's no mic, so I'll just tell you. If they feel like they don't have time now, then they assume that in order for them to be successful, they can't be busy. Which means that, okay, let's play it your way. You're busy now. So when you're not busy again in the future, you'll do it, right? Yep. Okay. So do you think that means that you'll never be busy for the rest of your life? Because it assumes that if you are busy, that you will stop. Do you want to be fit for the rest of your life? Yes. Do you think you'll be busy at some point in the rest of your life? Yes. Well, then it means that you should probably learn how to do it when you're busy, and that's probably the time you're going to need the most support, which is what I'm here for. So let's get you started.
So this is a bit confrontational when it comes to asking these questions. Alex here drives them to make a very logical position, so he puts them in a logic trap. So when it comes to more A-type personality-driven prospects, they might feel, when you use this phraseology, that you're after them and you're out there to get them. You're out there to one-up them. So they might not necessarily just say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So especially when it comes to using that closing line after that scripted out response, people are not going to buy from that. Oh yeah, this is busy, is the reason why you should do it. Let's go ahead and get started. The prospect clearly sees that you're using a strategy to get them to move across the finish line. So even if you can use that in your sales objection handling, you say something like, oh yeah, busy is the reason people do this, so they can create more time and create more abundance in their life. Don't use let's go ahead and get started. Ask them first, get permission for them. Does that make sense? Or is it that an insane idea to buy into? Person is going to say no. Okay, so what do you feel is the best next step for us? And you can move them towards the close in that way, instead of forcing them towards the sale.
Does that make sense? Logical, right? Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys.
It's logical, but again, it's a logic trap.
Had this sale before. But this is why I want, you guys, if this helps you close one more deal this month, every single month, it paid for the weekend, okay? That was number one. We've got 16 more, okay? But this is how I think about it. It's each of these, that little statement there is my quick cue. If someone says, I'm really busy right now, I'm like, busy's the best time. Busy's the best time. And they're like, oh, fuck, that was going to be my obstacle. shit. You're like, that's amazing. Busy's the best time because that's when you need the most support, because if you learn how to do it when it's hard, the rest of your life it'll be easy.
Again, if you're quick to reply like that and you snap into objection handling mode, people can sense that energy. When someone tells you, yeah, this is a very busy time for us right now, I am going to handle it like, okay, that's not an issue typically for the majority of our clients, because they understand that when they are investing into a solution, that's there to save them time. So are you completely against the idea that by working together, we're going to create more time for you instead of adding more tasks to your plate? And I'll say, no, it's not an insane idea. Okay, so from your point of view, what do you feel is the best next step for us so we can get to work, start saving you time? So now this approach feels much more collaborative. We're working together to come up with a perfect solution instead of me shooting back an answer and then feeling like, oh, he really got me this time. Let me go ahead and buy, which is not how human psychology works.
So if someone's like, no, I literally don't have the time in the day because I have all these other things. Now, we know that's a priorities issue, but if you want, you can show it to them. And this is how I do it. So I say, you know what, totally understand. I used to say the same thing to my wife. Now, you make yourself the person who they're going to step into their identity, because you're not calling them silly pants, you're calling yourself a silly pants. You're like, listen, I was a silly pants too. I used to say this to my wife all the time, and I bitch and moan about how I didn't have time to do the things to make more money, didn't have the time to do more things to get in shape, et cetera, et cetera. And one day she got so sick and tired of me complaining about this that she grabbed my phone out of my hands as I was scrolling social media, looked at the amount of hours per day, and she was like, you spend 3.5 hours on social media every day. I guess I found you some time. Because at the end of the day, everyone has the same 24 hours. And I used to say this when I was closing deals, because it was back when Obama was president. I was like, President Obama gets up every day to run. I was like, he's running the fucking world. I was like, you don't have time to come to the gym? Right? And they're like, yeah, you're right. And the thing is like right now, you feel like you don't have the time, but everyone has the same amount of time, right?
That's a great argument, and you can use this actually in your sales calls. I would actually use this instead of what we see on the screen. So if they say, I literally don't have any time to spend to invest into the coaching program and really apply. Yeah, I would say that that's not an issue at all. Now, we can't create more time, right? We only have 24 hours a day. Elon Musk, he shoots rockets from Earth into the space, and he runs another 50 companies on the side in the same 24 hours. So what do you feel happens there? Do you feel he creates more time, or is it about buying back his time and prioritizing to him what's the most important thing for him? They'll be like, yeah, you're right, it's about priorities. So then you put it back on them and you ask them, well, do you feel you want to make this a priority so you can grow your business or lose weight? Heavily depends on what you're selling. So that's how you can put it back on them and get them to take action.
So third one is the when-then fallacy. This is one of my favorites, all right? Which is like, I'll start working out, I'll start saving money when, right? It's a when-then fallacy, and you'll recognize it pretty easy. And again, you're going to say, I totally understand where you're coming from. This kept me stuck for years, right? I was a silly pants too. It's just fun to say silly pants. And until I found out one day that line of reasoning is called the when-then fallacy. And so it's like saying like, when I am healed, I'll go to the hospital, right? Once I save money, then I'll start investing. Right? It's like it doesn't work that way. Like you have to get the...
He's 100% on point, and I really like to use an analogy when it comes to this objection in particular, because it really snaps them into reality. You can say something like, I mean, I can understand possibly where you're coming from, at least parts of it, but may I make a suggestion? Do you feel that when soldiers want to go to war, do they practice shooting after they go to war and when they're in the battlefield, or do they start practice shooting before they head to war so they're prepared and they're ready to battle? Well, they typically practice before they go to war, right? So what has you postpone the activity that will enable you to achieve the outcome? That's how you put it back on them and you help them make an informed decision.
Okay, so raise your hand if you ever had a prospect say or do one of these things. Yes? Yes, everyone. Like one person's like, I've never had that happen. Not me. And so the problem is, when we present our thing, they don't see it that way, and so they don't think, oh, I have to find a way to get this to work. And so that means that we didn't communicate enough value. If you communicate enough value, the resources are never an issue. Your team has to believe that. Otherwise, it's never going to stick. Like they have to really believe that, because they're like, oh, the guy was broke. It's like they should, and one of the things that I always prided myself on was I was an equal opportunity salesman. And I don't mean that in a woke political way. I mean that it's like if every person who walked in the door is like their money spends the same. And I had people who really looked rough walking in my door sometimes. Pretty sure I had a few people that lived in their cars that I tried to sell. But the thing is like, I was like, if this person wants to get a job, getting in shape and getting some sort of routine in their life is probably really important. And so I sold hard.
Yeah, he's 100% right. What a lot of salespeople do wrong today is they judge a person off their application, or just like Alex said, the way they dress or the way they talk. The reality is most sales qualification today is bullshit, because they just qualify people based on one fact: how much are they making, and they base their whole decision-making process based on what's the amount the prospect puts down. So if they put that they're making 0 to 10K, immediately they're disqualified from their sales process. And the challenge with it is when you have a closer looking at that application before the call and they see that that person is making 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, they immediately in their mind have disqualified their prospect, even if they take the call. So they're not gonna try selling them hard enough. They're not gonna put their best foot forward. So that's the challenge with it. What I qualify people against is their intent. How bad do they want it? And of course, I have to take responsibility for that as well. Am I doing a good enough job to communicate the value and make them want it? Because if they want to make it happen, typically if you're working in a first world country and not in a third world country, people typically can't find the money to do it.
So let's go through the first one, which is someone says, that's a lot of money, I can't afford it. And so you just say, so this is a lot of money for you. And they're gonna be like, yeah, this is called taking the bait. And you're like, yeah. Well, that's amazing, because I'm actually more concerned when someone says that it's not a lot of money for them, because I don't think they're going to care much about it. All my best testimonials, my best case studies from people where this is a lot of money for them. Because if it's a lot of money for you, does that mean you're going to try really hard? They're like, yeah. I'm like, right, then you should be the last person who's worried about getting the results, because this means a ton to you.
There's a key distinction that needs to be made here. When the prospect is telling you, hey, this is a lot of money, I don't know necessarily what that means. Does that mean that this product, when I'm putting the money on one side and the value on the other side, the money overly surpassing the value, then we're not in the right track. So that's one point. If that's the case, this objection handling framework isn't going to work, because this assumes that the prospect sees the value, and in this way, he's handling it as if it's a fear objection. So I need you guys to be careful around that, because this is a fear objection handling framework, what Alex is going through right now.
Right? Does that make sense? So then you can transition. It's like, hey, well, before I even close you on that one, would you even believe me if I said it was 1/10 of the price, that it was going to do all the things I promised?
Please don't use the wording close you on someone, or close people. Again, get them to commit to a higher version of themselves, to a higher version of their business, to a higher version of their fitness. Don't use the word close. No one wants to be closed. No one likes being closed, but they love to buy.
Be like, well, no. And you're like, right. So you knew you were going to do this either way, right? And if you were selling a B2B thing, which you aren't, but if you were, it's like, how long do you want I can't afford it to be on your list of problems in life? Right? So, why the fact that it's expensive for them is a good thing. That's point one. Boop. Next one is why it's not actually a lot.
Again, that was a fear objection handling framework. There are better ways to do it, but even if you go ahead and use that one, make sure that it's a value objection to begin with. Because when someone says it's a lot of money, I need to make sure that they at least see the value. Otherwise, this will fall on deaf ears.
So this is where you start expanding on value, which is like, okay, well, fundamentally, if you got to your high school weight, would it be worth it? They're like, yeah, it would be worth it. I was like, okay, so the issue isn't whether it's expensive or not. The issue is that you don't believe that it can happen for you. Let's just make sure we're clear here, right? And so what happens is you can pull apart the price from the belief, and the belief you can then attack on its own, right? Because again, for many people, like if you just say enough, if all this did was, They're like, yeah, it would do that. It's like, great. So then it's not about it being expensive. It's about you extrapolating your past experiences that didn't work for you onto this present scenario, which makes sense, but it may, let me see if I can get, fuck it, I'll just tell you, I'll skip ahead to, I'll skip a slide later. You don't let a bad decision burn you twice. Has anyone heard this one? It's probably one of my most used obstacle overcomes, which was, I get it. You had something that happened in the past that didn't work, maybe multiple things that didn't work. The only thing worse than having that thing not work is letting that bad experience burn you twice. Once when it didn't happen, the second time when it prevented you from doing the right move. Right? Like, did you ever have somebody you dated in high school?
So the objection Alex is talking about here is different than the one that's presented. Be careful around that point. The objection that he's handling now is, I've been burned before. It has nothing to do with the value of your product or a value objection. It has everything to do about their past experiences. So this isn't about your product. This is about overcoming their fear about past failure. So to be able to do that, you need to find what were their buying criteria when they made that bad decision. So you have to ask them, well, can you help me understand, when you invested in that mastermind, what went wrong exactly? Well, I wanted more accountability. I wanted more playbooks. I wanted more detailed advice. And then I'm going to ask them, okay, so if you have detailed advice, the right frameworks, do you feel that that will put you in the best possible position to get to your goal? They're going to say yes. Okay, then I'm going ahead and I will tell them, okay, so if we're able to provide that detailed feedback, frameworks, and all the playbooks that you need, is there any reason that you feel this wouldn't work for you? And now I'm able to overcome their skepticism by including the reason why they failed in the past.
Just put this, anyone date anyone in middle school? Anyone? Remember this one, 6 inches, right? Imagine that heartbreak that you had when you were in 7th grade. Fucking Caroline Caputi. Imagine that heartbreak, right, in 7th grade, or whatever it was, where you get your heart broken. And then you say, no people, ever again. Shall I ever date? Right? You would have let that bad scenario burn you twice and prevent all the good things that have happened from all the people that you've dated since then, or hopefully that you're married to. Right? And if somebody who's married in front of you, it's a lot easier. It's like, was the person that you're married to the first one you ever dated? They'll say no. And you're like, right, imagine if you'd stopped dating after that first breakup you ever had. That would have been bad, right? Well, it's kind of like what you're doing right now with this bad thing. Do you think it's impossible for you to get in shape? No. Okay. Well then, do you think it's possible that there's somebody who's a good fit for you, a good program for you?
I agree with this. I like this. Like, he's using an analogy to overcome the fear of failure that they've had in the past. Hey, have you ever had your heart broken before? Yeah, it was in 6th grade. Oh, but it doesn't sound like that prevented you from falling in love again or getting married and finding the one. No, it didn't. Okay, so how come you're that concerned about repeating the past failures if you've already shown yourself that you know how to manage that scenario? Can you help me understand? So you can simply use that objection handling loop to overcome that objection.
Third one is, what's money good for anyways, right? Because the big thing is that money is going to get spent either way, right? You guys are going to spend your money, your prospects are going to spend their money in the next 12 months, no matter what. And the question is it going to be something that's going to make you better, or is it going to be shit that you don't need? If you look at your last 12 months, is there a bunch of shit you spent money on that you didn't need? Probably. Do you want to do that again the next 12 months? No. Would it be nice to have something that paid some dividends? Yeah. Because here's the real. Is that you're going to be buying the lessons from this program either way. That is the line. You're going to be buying this program either way. The question is whether you want to spend time or going to spend money. You're buying them either way. And so do you want to spend 15 years trying to figure this out on your own? Trying to get in shape? Trying to grow your gym?
The problem with this way of handling this objection is they can simply say, well, there are other options out there for me to save that time. Why are you the one I should go with? So it's a dangerous play, and instead what I would advise you and encourage you to do is simply ask them, well, I don't feel that this is the right thing for me. I don't really see the value. That's no issue. That's not an issue. We're not for everyone for sure. may I ask, what doesn't resonate with what I put in front of you? Well, I feel it's too much money for what you offer. Can you give me an example so I understand? Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that lead generation is a challenge, but I don't see how this will fix my lead generation issue. Yeah, I mean, that's a valid concern. May I ask, just because you haven't got enough leads right now, how much revenue do you feel you're missing on a weekly basis? Well, about 5,000. Okay, so 5,000 times 4 weeks a month, that's about 20,000? Yes. Okay, so you're missing out on 20,000 a month right now. Our solution is 5,000. So you're telling me that if this has worked for dozens of people just like you, what's going to hold you back from getting enough leads to get ROI since you're already missing out on 20,000? Now, what's happening in their brain? I've put a clear contrast between what they're missing out on by not fixing their lead gen issue and the investment that's required for my program. Plus, I'm adding in proof that, hey, this has already worked for dozens of people like you. You're missing out on a bunch of sales. Like, what makes you feel that this wouldn't work for you? Can you help me understand? So now I've shown them that, hey, you're already wasting all this money. I've helped many people just like you. 1 + 1 is 2. Why don't we go ahead and move forward?
Or do you want to spend the money? Because the thing is we always spend the thing that we value least. So if you value your time over your money, you spend the money to keep your time.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, you can use that. But again, the only challenge is, well, there are other options out there.
If you value your money more than your time, then you spend your time and save your money. Do I need to tell you which one rich people do? Right? And at the end of the day, like, what's money good for anyways? It's to get you the stuff you want, right? Do you want this thing? Yeah, well, what else are you going to buy with the same money? Because when you're saying that you don't want to spend it, you have something else in mind that you want to spend it on. Why is that thing more valuable than this thing? Good questions. And the person's like, well, fuck. And you're like, right, it's okay, it's normal. This isn't my first conversation here, right? And so one of my favorite closes here at the end here is best case, worst case close, which is like, listen, at the end of the day, both of these options are risk-free, right? You can walk out the door, you can sign up, get a guarantee. But only one of them will get you closer to your goal. So if you have no risk with no upside, or no risk with potential of upside, which one do you want to do? I have closed a lot of weight loss sales with that close. It's probably, if I had top 3, that's of the top 3. Best case, worst case, let's play it out. Best case, you change your life, you get into amazing shape. Would that be a great outcome? Yes. Worst case, you do this, and you don't have that happen, I give you your money back, and you just got free 6 weeks of training. Fair enough? Because the only other option you have that's...
So this is great stuff. And the reason is, because you're facing the reality of the worst case scenario, they can clearly see that it's not that bad. You're taking the fear that they have in the back of their mind and you're putting words to it. And that's neutralizing that emotion. And by being able to put that truth on the table, and they can see that there are kind of 3 paths over here, the best case scenario where we really crush it, the worst case scenario where I'm not gonna die, worst case scenario, I get my money back or I lose 5,000, and there's a middle road where maybe I can get results, something that looks like their case studies. So by putting and having a real conversation at the end of the day with them, that's what closes the sale. Because they can see that, hey, even the worst case scenario isn't that bad. So overall, really solid stuff from Alex over here. Now, if you want to see me rank the best and the worst sales gurus in 2025, make sure to watch this video right here, and I'll see you there.